In order to learn and remember the content of the course, it's good to practically try things out. So as we go through the course, I'd like you to spend time exploring the configurations that I talk about and the operating systems and the settings. And when you see something that I demonstrate and you think that, well, that might apply to your situation, then you want to try those things out, because obviously trying things out is the best way to actually learn. And one way to do this without misconfiguring your own machine is to use a virtual environment to play around in and to learn in. And these are also called platform virtualization software or hypervisors, which is really, it's a piece of software that emulates a whole physical computer or machine and often provides multiple virtual machines in one physical platform. So for example, if you see here, we have the hardware, which would be your laptop, your physical device, and then you've got the operating system here. So that would be this operating system that you can see here. So this is Windows, in this case Windows 7, and then you have the hypervisor, the software that allows you to create the virtualization. In this case I've got some virtualization software, and this hypervisor is VirtualBox. So this is the VirtualBox here, the hypervisor, and it's running a particular operating system, but it could run many operating systems. And you can see that here it is running a Windows 7 within a Windows 7. So here we have our nice virtual environment within an environment. This is considered to be the host, and this is considered to be the guest operating system. Now if we go back to the diagram again, and this is from Wikipedia, so yeah, you can see this is a hosted, it's known as a type 2 because you can have different types of virtualization, but we're talking about testing here, setting up testing environments so that you can try things out. This is the sort of environment that we'd want to use, so you can ignore this type of environment for now, the type 1. So this would be your machine, your native laptop, then whichever operating system you use, and you can use different operating systems. So if you're on Mac, or if you're on Windows, if you're on Linux, you can run hypervisors on all of those different operating systems and then put on a different operating system. Now, there are lots of different virtualization software. I mean, the big two really are VMware and VirtualBox, and I have, as you've seen, VirtualBox here, and this next to it, this is what VMware looks like. Very, very similar. This is desktop virtualization. This is actually a VMware Workstation 12 player. But there are others. I mean, there's things like Vagrant, Hyper-V, VPC. But for the purposes of setting up a test environment so you can play around with configurations and settings, then really I recommend VMware and VirtualBox. Now, there are two purposes for using virtual environments. Now, right now, we're talking about for testing things out. But later on, we're also going to talk about how virtualization can be used as a method to give you security and privacy. So we've got a section on that as well. Now, if you want to explore around the topic and the different types of virtualization software, you can go to this page on Wikipedia and you can see all the different types of virtualization software. I mean, you can see there's quite a lot of them. That's quite a useful site if you want to learn a little bit more. And the hypervisor link on Wikipedia, it's pretty good. It's pretty short, just tells you about virtualization if you're interested in knowing a little bit more. The obvious question is, how do you actually get these operating systems into these virtual machines? Well, one way is exactly the same as you would if you had your own laptop, your own hardware. You would get a CD, you would put it in, and you would install it, just the same as you would with physical hardware. Now, you therefore can, of course, go buy the operating system that you're looking for. So if you want Windows 10 or whatever it is, you go buy it, you get sent a CD, and you put it in, and you install it. And I'll show you the details of how that's done, but we're just going through at the moment the different ways of getting operating systems on there. So that's a physical CD. Another option is you use a virtual CD, and I'll show you an example of that. So say you want the Debian operating system to be installed, you need to, which is free, you need to find the equivalent of the CD, and digital versions of CDs are created, and one format that can be used is ISO. So if you see here, this is Debian. If I click here, it's going to enable me to download the latest Debian ISO, which is effectively a disk. I would then start my hypervisor with this ISO in the drive, it would boot, and then I would start to install it. So that's one option, that's ISOs and disks to get them on. Now another option is you can get very conveniently pre-made virtual disks where someone has installed it for you and they packaged it up into a virtual disk. So if you're interested in, for example, Windows machines, now this is a great link, or Windows operating systems. So if you go here, you can download virtual machines. So here we've got XP, Vista, Windows 7, Windows 10. These are test versions, but that's what we're using this for, is for testing. So you can select here, select your platform. So maybe you're using VirtualBox, download, and then you can have a virtual image. And that will end up looking something like, well, that's the VM version. This is the VirtualBox version. So you'll end up getting something like this. A large file, you can see this is 4 gig, which is the virtual disk, and you can just straight away run that. And that's exactly what I've done here. I've downloaded it and I've run it. And that's the file that I'm running. That is Windows 7 running in VirtualBox from that file. Very quick, very nice, very easy. Just download it and it's ready to use. So that's the Windows environments, and you can also get the Linux and all the other operating systems too. For Linux and Linux type operating systems, you can go to this website, osboxes.org. This is for VMware images. For VirtualBox, you can go here, same website, different URL. And if you scroll down, you can see all the Linux type operating systems. Arch Linux, there's an example, click here, scroll down, and there it gives us the options, the VirtualBox option, the VMware option, the 32 and 64-bit version. Now if you're not sure the difference between 32 and 64-bit version, then that's something for you to do. Google it, find out what operating system you have, and then download the corresponding operating system version. And you can see here the username and password for any operating system that you download, which is obviously important. Now, don't worry if you don't understand about all these different operating systems. We're going to go through the different operating systems, which are secure, which are not secure, privacy issues to do with them. This is just to give you an understanding of setting up test environments and how you can use virtual machines to follow me as we go through this course. Another link for VMware is this. And you can find what are called virtual appliances. So again, it is VMware images. You would download these, and that would be, this is some sort of Ubuntu appliance. Ubuntu is a Linux-based operating system. And a couple of other useful links. Virtualmachine.org. You can check that one out. And another useful one. virtualboxes.org, and you can find some things on here. Now, of course, remember I haven't said, but these shouldn't be trusted environments. Someone else has built these virtual environments, so you can't trust them. But we're not using them for trust here. We're using them for testing and for playing around with things. When something is within a virtual machine, it is pretty isolated from your main machine. And we're going to talk much more about that later on. But you should see these downloaded test images as purely that, for testing and not for real environments going forward. When we get to that section, we're going to potentially set up real virtual environments that you can use for security and privacy.